biggest steak.
You're in the right place for it.
I'm telling you. I got take a couple bottles of red wine with me too.
There you go. Great. There's a great Western store, a couple blocks from the hotel. We'll get you.
Yeah, I heard about this wine place too.
Not bad.
Welcome to Mind the Game, brought to you by Uninterrupted and Wondery. This episode, we dive into the playoffs. What's different? What's unique? What are the challenges that the playoff basketball presents to NBA players and teams? With LeBron James, myself, two guys that have played in a bunch of playoff games and kind of seen it all. So I hope you enjoy this conversation. Please subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you next time. Mind the game.
Yes, sir.
Cheers.
Cheers to you. Yes, sir.
I think it'd be great for us to talk about the playoffs.
That's always a great conversation.
Shared experiences. And really just kind of lay out for the average fan what the playoffs are like and the difference between the playoffs and the regular season. The number one difference, I think you see it immediately, is the intensity.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
I think that's what makes the game great. But it's more than just physical intensity. It's a mental battle.
Yeah.
Maybe we start by talking about a time or a series where you felt was exhausting.
It was exhausting, wow.
Mentally or physically challenging or exhausting.
Yeah, and obviously I've been in so many, but I think one that comes to mind would be obviously 2012 Eastern Conference Finals versus Boston. I was in Miami, and obviously the Boston had their big three, and I always say the big four because Rondo was so damn good as well. And we go down 3-2 after losing a home game. Going into Boston, which is one of the places that you just don't want to be going there for a closeout game. And for us to be able to go in there in Game 6, and we know what happened in Game 6, and us to be able to come back to South Beach and win a Game 7. But like you just said, how you said in the beginning, obviously the physical toll. You already know what KG is bringing to the game, his intensity. What Rondo's bringing to the game, and the rest of that group. They just brought so much out of you.
Right. Not
only from a physical toll, but from a mental standpoint too. Because they have so many guys out there that can do so many things. So at the end of that series, you was just like, I just want to sleep. I know I'm not going to be able to.
Right.
You know that. You're not
going to. Time anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, it just takes so much out of you mentally.
Yeah. You being the head of the snake too, they're going to throw everything at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're going to change matchups. They're going to throw different defenses at you. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like always having to think for your team as a creator.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously that comes with preparation even before the series. It comes with preparation before the series. It comes with getting into the film. Really breaking it down now, seeing, ways they've guarded players, ways they've guarded you throughout the regular season. How many different ways can they switch it up, and also just always being ready, and, like you said, me being the head of the snake, you have to always be ready, and because they could guard you one way in the first quarter, they could switch it up in the second quarter, guard you a different way in the third. And in the fourth quarter, it could be totally different. So you always have to be aware of the matchups, of the calls, of the way they're guarding you, how they're guarding you in the post, how they're guarding you on pick and roll, how they're guarding you on ISO situations. That is also mentally draining as well.
Yeah.
But if you're ready and you're prepared, you put yourself already above the curve as well.
Yes.
To when it comes to the mental side, you're able to be like, okay, I'm ready for this, I'm ready for that. And sometimes it takes a couple games too in a series. Yeah. You can do all the studying and all the, sometimes it takes a game or two to get into the series to be like, okay, now I'm ready. Right. Now I'm fully prepared. Right. I knew I was ready, but now I'm fully engaged and fully prepared on what's at hand.
Right. I always remember playing against the Spurs a lot.
Yeah, man.
Playoffs. And You know, it's tough. Usually put a big wing on me. I got Timmy at the rim. Usually back in those days, they had two big guys at a 7-footer next to Timmy.
Yeah.
You know, Papa sometimes would shrink the floor. Sometimes he'd stay at home. You know, that was one of the things that and I knew he was fucking with me.
Yeah.
Is that he would stay at home so that I couldn't throw the ball around the gym.
Yeah.
And he knew I wanted to. And just playing that mental game.
Yeah.
But I know what he's doing, and I'm trying to find the right balance and not, you know, hit my head against the wall.
Right,
and that's
right.
exhausting, right?
Yeah.
Trying to do what's right for your team, but then also do what's right for you, attacking the defense, taking what's there.
Yeah, for that game. Like,
That game.
Yeah.
It could change.
Right,
it could
right.
change by the possession, the quarter, coming out of a timeout, or it could change later. You know, I think it's interesting because numerically the playoffs don't look that much different than the regular season.
Right.
But they're so different.
Right.
Like I got some numbers here. You know, when you talk about like points per possession, you know, they go down 1.5. Right. Now you could say that's nothing. Still, margins.
Yeah.
Margins,
Yeah.
right? You know, that's an average. Effective field goal percentage, you know, goes down 1.5. You know, something.
Yeah.
You know, they all add up, right? But where it does actually show is pace. You know, goes from 98.5 to 92.6 in 2023-24. You know, true shooting percentage goes from 580 to 566. The other one that's kind of a larger margin is assists. Assists go down. Assists go down. I mean, we could talk a little bit about that, but it's essentially what happens is these are intense scouts.
Yeah.
You are taking people out of what they want to do.
There you go. You said it right there. Assists go down because ultimately a role player can win or lose you a game.
100%.
And when it comes to coaching and you get from one round to the first round, second round, conference finals, there's certain guys that can win you a game. And when it comes to coaching, they're going to say, Steve is going to do what Steve does. Luka's going to do what Luka does. LeBron going to do what LeBron does. Kevin Durant's going to do what Kevin Durant does. But it's that guy or that guy. In their wins, he averages this.
Right.
In their losses, he averages this.
Right.
That's the assist, because myself, you, Luka, guys that we know we need our teammates. We know in order for us to really reach our pinnacle, we have to make sure that these guys are super engaged on the offensive end as well, because they're going to defend the hell out of the ball. They're going to be scrappy. They're going to run through a wall for us. But we need them to make those timely shots, and that's where the chess game comes in.
Right.
You know, and I think that's what you're saying. You know, the assists going down because now coaches are saying, okay, that guy in wins and that guy in losses,
Right.
we got to be able to try to take him out.
That's right. You know, it's interesting. It's not just the intensity and focus of the scouts. It's also the intensity of the play.
On the play.
Now, there's no more back-to-backs. You know, especially the first round gets stretched out a bit.
So it's less travel.
Less travel. You're staying in the city for 2 games. So all these things allow, and life or death, right? As a basketball
it's
player.
the first 16 wins. It's not 82.
Fighting for your life.
Yeah.
So you throw all the fatigue away, you know, and that's not to, you know, diminish what we do in the regular season, but like it's a lot of games.
Yeah, I mean, you go from. It would be the same if a runner, you know, hey, for 6 months, you know, you're running a marathon.
Right.
6-8 months, you're training for the marathon.
Trying to get through it.
You're just trying to get through it. You're running a marathon for 8 months. On the back end, for those last 2 months, now you're running a sprint.
Right. Great analogy.
You are running a 100-meter yard dash. That's what it comes to. That's what it comes to. And we know we're all gearing up. We're all gearing up, and it's no knock on the regular season, but you're gearing that up. You're gearing everything up to get to that point where now it's a 100-meter yard dash, 200-meter. Like it's like we get into it right now. There's no tomorrow.
Your comment about like sometimes it might take you a few games to get into a series. Well, part of that is because the physical intensity of the defense. You've seen them in the regular season, but if they're going to blitz you in the playoffs, that is a different blitz.
It's a different blitz.
That is a different blitz. That is physical. That is hands. That is body, feet, everything, taking away space. So like that sometimes is an adjustment.
Yeah, and the referees allow it a little bit more too.
Physical.
You know,
Sure.
And I've always equated like the regular season to the playoffs is like playing in NBA to now playing the Olympics.
Right.
It takes a couple games playing in the Olympics for you to get to the point where it's like, oh, they're allowing us to play a little bit more physical.
Yeah.
oh, I actually like this, but I need a game or two to actually get to it.
Right.
You know, and that's how the regular season to the playoffs is. The refs allow it, and I love it. And I love when you can be more handsy, you can be more physical, and you know, and it's not, the whistle is not blown as frequently.
Right.
You know, so like you said, it takes a couple games, because if you've been training your body and been playing a certain way for 8 months, and then all of a sudden within 1 week you have to now go into the postseason where everything is more physical, everything is faster, everything is more intensified. It may take a game. It may take, hopefully it doesn't take 2 games, because now you could lose a damn series that way. But it may take a game. It may take 2 quarters. It may take 3 quarters for you to get into it. But you're hoping that you're the team that it takes less amount of time to get to that than the other team, your opponent you're playing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's the physical intensity, obviously, with the scheduling, being in the city longer, all that stuff. There's the focus scouts. You know, we all take time to understand what's the style of play of this team. What are the actions they run? What do they do side out of bounds, end out of bounds, end of game, get in plays?
Yeah.
You know, what's their philosophy on fouling? You know, all sorts of things go into it. What are our schemes? What suits our style of play against them?
Yeah.
You know, what are their schemes? How do we attack them? So there's a lot of studying that goes on. Tendencies, taking tendencies away. So there's the physical intensity, there's the mental intensity, right? Like that, those 2 things combined make it completely different. And by the way, it's the most fun you'll ever have in your life.
For sure.
Right? It's the most fun.
my
The
God,
stakes
it's the
are on the
best.
line. Refs aren't calling as much. You're fighting. And then there's the component of you're going to see the same guys 4 to 7 times. So it gets a little bit personal.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it gets a little bit personal. We're all proud. We're going out there. You know, there's another part of this that's really important. It's the human side, right? Which we've talked about before. But that emotional roller coaster of, you know, you go and play a team and you beat them handily, you feel like you're never going to lose again. You know, a team beats you and you got no answers, you feel like you're never going to win again. But that's never really the truth.
Never.
Very rarely the truth. Can you talk a little bit about your approach with your teams, you know, in that roller coaster of the playoffs and trying to keep your team even keel? How do you lead? How do you manage them?
No, you just said it. You said it perfectly, man. Just like, it's always like, until you get 4 wins, it's never over.
Right.
It's never over. And I know we've never in NBA history had a team come back from 3-0. But it's always a chance. You know, I've seen it in other sports. I've seen it in baseball happen before. You know, I've watched baseball series, guys come back down 3-0. It's going to happen. So until you win 4 games in a postseason, it's not over. So it doesn't matter if you go on the road, you start on the road, and you beat the team by 25 game 1. Game 2 is going to be the hardest game that you have to play.
Right.
They're mad. They're sitting at home. They're pissed about the game that they lost, what they didn't do well, how they didn't play well. The coaches is on their asses.
Embarrassed.
They're embarrassed. That next game is going to be the hardest game, and you have to stay even keel. You have to get your friends and family out of your ear. You have to get off of social media, because everybody's going to praise the shit out of you like you just won the greatest thing of all time, and you have to be able to just get away from it all.
Are you intentional with that with your teammates? You're like,
absolutely.
guys,
Absolutely.
cut out the noise, cut out the
Absolutely.
distractions.
Super intentional.
Next game's going to be the hardest game.
Super intentional.
I think it's important because, you know, as you know, on a team, you got guys all different ages.
Yep.
All different experiences, mindsets,
Yep.
emotional toll. So you might have a young guy that doesn't know any better. You might have an old guy that maybe hasn't played as much and now you need him. You got all these different factors trying to balance. I think it's so important to talk through sometimes, like, because it's human nature. We feel good. We feel overconfident. And they feel like their back's against the wall. It happens so many times. Talk about no one's ever come back from 3-0. I almost got beat. We almost got beat. When I played for Dallas, we played Portland. We're up 3-0. We had to win Game 7 at home. You know, luckily we were able to play at home in Dallas, but like it was this close from happening. So anything can happen in a series, which leads to a little bit about the preparation, the intensity, and then the adjustments. Yeah. So you go into a series, you have a game plan, you have a way of playing, and it's about balancing who are we, who are they, how do we attack them, how do they attack us, how do we stay true to who we are while also playing them in the prism of how we can take things away from them.
Right. And I mean, you know, it's funny because, you know, we talk about the regular season, but the regular season is you building up the habits.
That's right.
To get to the postseason. You're hoping that you've discussed and went over and have instilled enough habits to this is where we're going to lean on in the playoffs. And it's going to get a little bit more fine-tuned in. It's going to be a little bit more intricate in how we do things. But you're hoping that you build those habits. Now, who we are is who we are, agreed. But the best teams in the postseason is the ones that can make adjustments on the fly. If things are not going
IQ
great,
teams.
an IQ team. Now, we're not saying to throw the whole damn thing out and throw it in the trash, but to be able to just to fine tune this or maybe to switch this up and be able to make adjustments on the fly.
Give them a different look.
Give them a different look. I always say it's so much easier to be a Monday morning quarterback.
Right.
You know, we lose the game on Sunday, and everyone and their mama and daddies can go break down the film and say, well, this is what we should have did. This is what we should have did. Okay, all right, everybody, calm down.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. But to be completely honest, how can we do it on the fly as well? And I think the greatest teams that we've seen, no matter if they've won it or not, because there's a lot of things that go into winning and losing, but the greatest teams, I believe, has been the ones that be able to can make adjustments on the fly from one game to the next game, and also still having that core that's built over the last 8 months.
Right. You know, it's interesting you talk about teams, like there's that human element too, is, you know, I think great teams have, like teams that win championships, get to finals, they have similar characteristics. You know, you have a leader, you have a hierarchy, essentially means people understand their role. They try to start the role. They sacrifice for their role. You have IQ. You have resilience, toughness. And really toughness, like it's going to be physical in the playoffs, but the toughness is really mental.
Yeah, for sure.
It's mental. Like you can't give an inch. You can't forget a play. You can't forget a rotation. You have to be sharp. You have to be early. You know, all those things that just make the little differences because the margins are so fine. You know, I think it's fascinating to see how often you get to the finals, two smart teams. Two mentally strong teams, two teams that can make decisions on the fly. You've played on some of those teams. Like talk about maybe some of your Miami teams, the way you're able, or the Lakers team and one in the bubble, like how you guys were able to make quick adjustments, read off each other, and use your IQ to solve problems.
Well, no, like you said, I mean, you know, once you get to the finals, it's, like you said, two high IQ teams, the best players are on the floor. Everyone knows what that team is going to do. I know what you're going to do. You know what I'm going to do. And the margin is obviously how can we get into a game and execute with them knowing what we're doing, but also how can we make adjustments that they may not know we're making. That's
it takes
mental.
a while to recognize how they've changed something.
Yeah, that you've changed something. They say, and you hope that it takes a game. Yeah. If not a game, maybe a full quarter, maybe even two possessions.
Yeah, steal two.
Yeah, if you could steal two possessions in the postseason, game, especially in the finals, that can win you that trophy. Because it's you see it all the time, how the game comes down to one or two possessions. Right. You know, and it's not because, you know, okay, both teams are that equal. Yeah, of course, you know, you got the one Eastern Conference team who got there, the one Western Conference team that's there. But it can literally come down to like one adjustment here that they didn't see or we didn't see. Right. You know, and I've been able to be a part of, you know, 4 championship teams where there were times we made small adjustments, you know, and we made plays late game, you know, or late in the third quarter, you know, that end of that third quarter that you could ride that momentum going into the fourth. Right. You know?
Yeah,
you know,
just shifts the momentum.
Small shifts, you know, and like you said, the biggest thing that I know for sure that I've had in my 4 championship teams, we had guys that knew their role to a T, and we were very smart. We were very smart, high IQ guys, and we could really, really just make adjustments on the fly. Yep. You know, my Miami teams could make adjustments on the fly. We could play 2 bigs at times. We could play 1 big at a time. We could blitz pick and rolls.
We
could switch pick and rolls.
We
could show and peel. You know, we could blitz, and the guy that's coming out of the blitz don't even run back to the hole. He could just peel to the top of the key. We're reading each other. It's the communication. My team in Cleveland, we could do the same thing. We could play Tristan and Kevin Love together at times. If we didn't, we could play Channing and RJ at the 4 and 5. We spread everybody out. Now we can switch a lot of, you know, things. You know, and obviously my team in 2020 with the Lakers, we could play 2 bigs with Dwight and JaVale, or we could play 80 at the 5. You know, we had so many savant guys. Myself and Rondo could be on the court at the same time with
Solving
Alex
problems.
Caruso.
Yeah.
You know, where now we got these. We not only thinking the game, we're also mastering the game while we're out on the floor. So it takes a lot, you know, to win a championship, and it's not easy. But damn, it makes it a lot smoother when you know you have guys out there that's on the same wavelength or even close to the same wavelength. If I can look at you and be like, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
you know, what's known don't need to be said.
Right. And some of that comes from experience. Like that's why I
Absolutely.
think it's hard. Collective experience. That's why, like, for example, your first year in Miami, you guys losing the finals.
Yeah.
A big part of that for me is collective experiences, being there before together, having those collective scars where you see in someone's eyes, we're going to be fine. You're down in game 3, 13 points in the third quarter, and you say, we're going to be fine. Whereas if you haven't had that collective experience, those can be trying moments.
Yeah, for sure. You start to question everything.
Yeah, right.
You start questioning yourself. Yep. You start questioning the guy that you haven't been in the foxhole with it enough.
Right.
You know, it's just human nature. You know, if you haven't been in those experiences enough, you don't know what to fall back on. And, you know, my experience my second year in Miami, you know, losing that year before gave me enough experience to know how to handle adversity even more.
Right.
You know, how to go into Boston for a game 6 down 3-2, and everybody is saying that this is over. Yeah. You know, how to come back in 2016 after losing in 2015, you know, and how to handle adversity being down 3-1.
Right. Because
of the things I've learned over the course of the past, you know, and having those moments with my teammates to be able to be like, we're fine. And they believe that, no matter how large the obstacle is for us to overcome. Yeah. They believe it.
You know, as someone who's always looking for that next rush, whether it's driving the lane or threading the needle, we get it. You need that excitement. And let me tell you, I found it in Audible. No joke, these audiobooks have me on the edge of my seat, whether on a long drive or in a recovery session. From heart-pounding thrillers to epic adventures, these stories have you on the edge of your seat like you're right in the middle of the action. They've got these Audible originals that are absolutely amazing, plus all the bestsellers you've been meaning to check out. The best part? You can get started with a free 30-day trial at audible.com. Audible knows there's no greater thrill out there than yours. Discover what lies beyond the edge of your seat on Audible. Sign up for a 30-day free trial on audible.com/game and dive into a world of new thrills. That's audible.com/GAME. You know, I also think like the first round, while it can be battles, it can be level, a lot of times the playoffs change every round a little bit.
Absolutely.
Especially by the time you get to the finals.
Oh, yeah.
You know, little anecdotes, but like you often see benches shrink every round. You know, a team might try to play 9, sometimes even 10 in the first round.
Yeah.
Next round, it's down to 9 or 8. Next round, it's down to 7 sometimes when you get deep in the playoffs. You know, it can also change in other ways, but like one of the examples is, you know, who's going to blink first? You know, you start a playoff series, but if you're the 1 seed playing the 8 seed, for example, oftentimes the 8 seed's already blinked before it started. We're going to try something to take something away from you. You know, I always think of basketball, frame it in a way of like basketball is about creating and exploiting space and constricting space. Offensively, you want to create space and exploit it, make it difficult for the defense. Defensively, you want to take space away. How can you do that? Now, we go through roster composition, style of play, everything that's got to fit, chemistry, all those things. But as you get deeper in the playoffs, I think you notice, like, for example, you get to the finals, now it's a blinking contest because both teams feel like they're coming with their fastball. And then it's who's going to blink first and make the first adjustment. Now, another point I want to make and hear your thoughts on is also the Monday morning quarterback comment. Like, not all adjustments work.
Oh, absolutely.
People think we're just going to plug this in and it's going to work.
Absolutely not.
Like, a lot of adjustments don't work.
Right.
And to your point, a lot of adjustments aren't big, we're going to blitz pick and roll. It's, I need your feet to be here.
Right.
On this rotation or on this trap or whatever it is. It's micro adjustments that make all the difference in the world. You having been in the finals, can you talk a little bit about that first blink and what that's like for a team to either be the one that blinks and changes and how that can change things for you, or it can be an admission of inferiority sometimes?
No, like, I mean, listen, I've been in finals where I felt like the opponent was just more worthy. You know, I mean, my first time going to the finals in 2007, you mentioned the Spurs.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, when you play the Spurs, not only are you trying to defeat the Hall of Fame players, you're also trying to defeat the Hall of Fame coach.
Can I stop you there? Like, was Pop a spy in the military? Like, I'm serious.
Yeah, for sure.
He spoke Russian.
Yeah.
He
for sure.
from the Air Force Academy.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I think he was on his way to be an agent
for
for the United States government.
Yeah,
and you're trying to win a basketball game against him.
Yeah, for sure.
I always felt like there was a little bit of a disadvantage or a hill we were trying to climb just for Pop himself.
Yeah, for sure. You can sense it. Like, okay, I have to guard Tony, Manu, Timmy, and then you see, okay, maybe they may be a little tired this quarter, maybe. And then you look to the sideline and you got Pop over there, and he's like on the floor as well, but standing on the sideline.
Right.
So when it comes to like who blinks, and
well, I think before you get to the blink, they never beat themselves.
No, never.
Because to your point prior, their habits.
Yeah.
They were resolute about their habits, so they never beat themselves, and that is exhausting for the other team.
Yeah, absolutely. You absolutely. When you go into a series, versus a Gregg Popovich team, versus a Bill Belichick football team, we have to beat them.
Right.
They're not going to beat themselves. You know that. So you're already mentally drained before you even get into it. It's like you start to put more pressure on yourself, saying we got to play perfect basketball.
Right.
Which is impossible.
Right.
But you put that extra pressure on you because they're not going to beat themselves. So that's where we talk about the blinking game. Yeah. It starts right then and there.
That's a great point.
It starts right then and there, saying, okay, how can we make the greatest team or the greatest players at this moment, because this is what the finals is all about. It's the two teams that's endured adversity, have withstand, the long marathon of a season, and now have put themselves in a position where the sprint happened and they're still here. How can you make them blink? And how can you see and know there's maybe a little small chink in the armor? Right. And once it happened, it's like a fighter, in the 10th round who's been going blow for blow, and he finally sees that other fighter kind of stumbles and hit the ropes.
We've all been there.
We've all been there, and I've been on both sides.
Both sides.
I've been on both sides. I've been a fighter that hit the ropes and was staggering and, maybe hit the ground, standing 8 count, whatever. And I've also been the other one that's pressed the fighter into the corner.
Right.
And that's just the challenge. That's just how it goes.
It's a great example or a great portal into leadership too, though, because when you're the team that's stumbling, standing 8 count, that to me is what great leadership is. It's not the talking. It's not 30 and 10. No. It's reliability in your approach, mentality, fight, and spirit.
Yeah.
Right? You got to be able to win when you don't have your fastball. You don't have your best stuff. You got to find a way to win as a leader, and you have to try to drag your team and make them believe that we can win even if we don't have our best stuff. So it's often there's adjustments happening. Mm-hmm. Then there's standing 8 count, and then they overcome that. Now the series has changed again. Talk to me a little bit about, usually a team blinks. There's an adjustment, then there's a counter adjustment, and then at some point the adjustments stop, and it might be after those first 2, and we go back to let's do what we do best. And now it's back to like who wants it more, and all those things, the spirit, the connectivity, the will. That now the game is about that. We know each other too well.
Right.
We've made the adjustments.
Yep.
You're not going back there.
Yep.
We got over that. We're not going back here. You got over that.
Right.
Now it's just back to who wants.
Yeah, you almost look like you're competing versus yourself at that point.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're basically looking in the mirror like I am competing versus myself.
I will not give up.
And I can't until it's over and done with and zeros in that clock. I am competing versus myself.
Right.
It's not even me and you anymore. It's not even about the opponent.
Right.
He knows exactly what the hell I want to do.
Right.
I know exactly what he want to do. I know the sets. I know the commands. I know the calls. I know everything. How can I not allow myself to waver too much to the left, too much to the right, too much up, too much down. How can I stay right here,
focused,
and as the leader of the team, also project that to the guys.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
that is the ultimate when it comes to those moments right there.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate.
Man, I would give anything to be in your shoes right now.
This covers right around the corner.
Going back to the playoffs, the best time of the
Listen,
year.
at this point in my career, like, I mean, the regular season is fun, it's cool, all right, but I just only care about the playoffs.
It's a drug.
Yeah, like, the moment, you know, I'm all about the process, and I will always be about the process. And now to get to this point, but the postseason, when you have an opportunity, if you have a chance to win it, and you know you have the team to have a chance, doesn't always result into winning it. But if you have a chance, and you know you have a fighting chance to walk into this ring and say, we can beat anyone. We can beat anyone. You know we have to play as close to perfect basketball as, you know, obviously we know that, and it takes a lot of luck in the postseason. You know, we understand that, but, you know, when it comes to playoff basketball, man, it's definitely a drug for sure.
To me, that's adapting to pressure. Once you have faced pressure and succeeded, it's intoxicating.
Yeah.
Now, like, you always want more stakes. It's like in the regular season, you come alive in a close game down the stretch in the fourth quarter. You're a different person slightly than the first three quarters.
Yeah.
Right? We're human. But
Yeah.
that part of it is what I would give anything to go back and be able to play in the playoffs, because the pressure, the feeling of everything being on the line. At 40, you're 22. Like, tell me about that. You still have that in your life.
Yeah,
like,
I think you just said it. Until you overcome the pressure moment, you have no idea if you can do it.
Right.
It's kind of terrifying.
Right.
You get into those pressure moments and it's like, I don't know if I can overcome this, or I don't know if this is too big for me, or whatever the case may be. However, you know, the human body or the human mind tricks you.
Right.
And then you're able to do that, and then you're able to stack that and do it again, and do it again, and do it again. And it doesn't always result in win, loss, or draw. It's just a moment of succeeding something that you didn't believe at times or didn't think you can overcome. And back to your question, for me to be at this point in my career, you know, 2 decades plus into this, and still have an opportunity to play in the postseason and know that I'm a big part of the puzzle, it's worth losing sleep over. Right. And I'm a guy who, we talked about this a lot.
Right.
Take care of your body, sleeping, and all. For 2 months, if I'm lucky enough, I am okay with losing sleep over.
Yeah. Yeah, best time of the year.
Best time of the year.
Best time of the year. Yeah, it's interesting, like, you know, that kind of coming of age as a playoff performer, the pressure, overcoming, like you said, you're not sure you can do it, you have doubts. I mean, maybe ignorance is bliss for some players. They don't know anybody. They have irrational confidence, but, you know, people that take on a lot of responsibility are feeling everything, responsible for the team, the fans, you know, all that stuff. It can be a lot, and you overcome it. I think, like, to try to message that to young players.
Yeah.
You know, one of the ways I like to think of it is like, there's 2 outcomes. I think this is like the art of war type stuff, but there's live or die, right? There's win or lose.
Yep.
You know, once you've realized you've died 1,000 deaths, like we've both lost battles, we've lost many battles. So once you realize you've died 1,000 deaths, what's one more?
Right.
So, like, you can risk it all again because you've already lost, you've already been there. So I think there becomes this, like, these scars build up where you're not afraid to lose anymore.
Right.
You're just going for it.
Right.
You know, and I think that's the type of mentality you see when people succeed in pressure situations, is that they're okay with the losing. They're okay with it. I'm willing to take this shot, make this play, do this thing in this moment because I've died 1,000 deaths.
Yes, and you know you're prepared.
Exactly.
You know you're prepared. Missing a shot at the end of the buzzer or losing a game or whatever the case may be, you prepared yourself for this moment. You know you've given everything that you had to the moment. You're going to be able to sleep better years from there because you know, listen, I committed everything I had to the moment, and there's nobody that could take that away from you.
Right. That's why you leave no stone unturned.
Yeah.
That's why your process over outcome, why you do all the things you do for the body, the mind, the skills, the film work, because you don't want to fail in one of those moments and go, maybe I should have, taken more shots, slept more.
Yeah. And now you're done, and you looking back on something that you can't get back.
Another part about great teams is versatility, especially in today's game. In the old days, you had much more of a roster constructed of 6 foot to 6'2" point guards, 7 foot centers, and power forwards. Now it's like we've kind of compressed all that, right?
Yeah.
It's like as many wings, positionless.
Yep, positionless.
So you're talking IQ, you're talking guard multiple positions, you're talking guys that can play blender. The versatility, like you said, to be able to make adjustments on the fly, to read and react. All these assets mean a lot in playoff basketball. And you talk a little bit about versatility and how that can change a series when it's like the last card to play.
Yeah, and I think who've mastered that is over the last 10 years is Golden State. And the main reason is because of Draymond Green. When we played them in 2015 in the finals, I believe they started the series off. I believe it was either Bogut or David Lee was starting at the center. And obviously we was out without Kevin Love, and unfortunately Kyrie got hurt in overtime of game 1.
Kevin had a concussion?
Kevin separated shoulder. Yep, and Kyrie dislocated his kneecap. But we ended up going up 2-1. And because of Draymond and because of Iguodala and because of Sean Livingston, it gave them the dynamic. In game 4, Draymond started at the 5, Iguodala started at the 4. We stayed pat with our lineup of, Tristan and Timothy Mozgov, myself, J.R. Smith, and I believe Dellavedova. Matt Deli, and it changed the landscape of their team.
Right.
And it's still to this day, the versatility that Draymond allows Steve and that franchise to have, it makes them who they are. And obviously we know Steph does, it goes back to Steph is gonna do what Steph does. And I think that's what the game of basketball is, to be able to have that versatility. To be able to have 6-7 guys that can play big or be able to switch out on guards, having 6'5", 6'4", 6'8", 6'9" across the board to be able to make you so versatile that you always keep the defense or keep the other team at bay. Because there's some teams that just won't change, or they don't have the versatility package to be able to do it.
Right.
So that is huge.
Yeah, they traditionally were happy to start with the center, but what they were saying at this point is we're going to play our last card.
Yeah, we'll play our last card.
Take that off the table. Draymond at 5. So immediately Mozgov has to guard the playmaker. Yeah, Draymond's the playmaker, and then defensively they can switch.
Yeah.
And now, if you want to go to Mozgov in the post, they're not going to you in the post. Right. So they've now played that card. By playing it the entire game, their death lineup. And so now it's a blanking contest. Are you able to stick with it, or are you going to have to go to the point 5?
I think they showed the league a lot. I mean, we did it, obviously, in Miami our second year when Spo was a genius to be able to move Bosh to the 5. We played big early on with Joel Anthony and Chris Bosh, or Udonis Haslem and Chris Bosh. And I think when Bosh went to the 5, it gave us some versatility as well. Being more athletic, being a lot longer, being able to open up the court a lot more. So CB could hit the 3, the corner 3. And that's the game. That's the game, to be able to have those dynamics. You look at Boston. Boston won it, by how versatile they are. When they added Drew Holiday, it made them so much more dynamic.
Right.
Obviously, the growth of Jason and Jalen, but they're going to be who they are.
Yeah.
But to be able to add a guy like Drew Holiday, who is basically a Swiss Army knife, you tell him, what do you need? What do you need, coach? All right, I got it.
Yep.
And that to be able to have those dynamics and have those players, you as a coaching staff, that's something that you dream of, to be able, because every series in the postseason is different.
That's right.
Okay, maybe we need to play bigger this postseason in this series. Okay, now this series requires to be more fast. Okay, now this need to be more physical. Now we need to really dial in and be able to have those cards.
Yes.
To be able to play, on Uno, I always got to draw 4 cards.
Right.
Always got it.
Yeah.
You say Uno, I'm right here. I'm ready. As soon as you say Uno, I'm throwing this draw 4 down.
Right.
That is the luxury. That's the luxury.
And that is the model, having more positionless players. I mean, you can even talk about what's Golden State starting at, the way Boston plays now. I mean, obviously Porzingis, when he plays, is a stretch 5 to protect the rim. But when he doesn't play, they still have positionless basketball.
For sure.
5 point guards playing blender, lots of threes. Same, in a sense, you can make it a comparison to your Lakers team with AD going to the 5, winning a championship. You could go positionally big, but you could also go with a center and AD next to him. You look at this OKC team. They not only have all sorts of guys that can switch, guard multiple positions, but can play blender, make open shots, or they can go with the 2 bigs with Hardenstein. So you're talking about the top teams. Same with Cleveland. With the 2 bigs, or
they
taking
have
one
Mobley
off
at the
floor.
5, or Jared Allen playing right beside him. Yeah, absolutely.
Optionality, and one of the cards has to be being able to switch. The other card is being able to go a little bigger. Those cards. Not everyone has.
Not everyone has, and that is a luxury.
That's right. And then you get to the leadership hierarchy, the resilience, toughness, the IQ. And that's what it is. It's the teams that have the profile on the roster, that have the buy-in, that have the leadership, the hierarchy, the resilience, the mental toughness. That's who you see in the finals every year.
There you go.
Well,
there you go.
To the Lakers.
Appreciate it.
Your 22nd journey.
I appreciate it. Looking forward to it. Postseason coming up.
Thanks for watching Mind the Game. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe for more content.